Hello and welcome. This is Katie. Thanks so much for stopping by today. In today's video, I wanted to share with you a simple ink blending technique and a set of note cards that are very impactful with minimal supplies. We're going to use a background stamp, we're going to use some inks, and we're going to use some word dyes, and that's it. And some embossing powder. So the background stamp I'm going to use is from Concord and 9th. This is like their wood grain background. And then I've got this die set of Simply Perfect Mix and Match sentiments from Spellbinders. And I'm showing you there's a ton of different sentiments in there. So it's great for creating quick, simple note cards for any occasion that you might need. Now, for those of you that follow along with me, you know that I much prefer 100% cotton watercolor paper to do my ink blending on. Normally I use the hot press that I showed you, but I'm going to use the cold press that I showed just a second ago. And here I'm going to be using Versafine Clair inks to do my blending. I did create a swatch sheet so that I have all the colors in my face to see what will go with what. So, you know, if I need something to go as a mid-tone, a light, mid, and a dark tone, then I have those right there in my face so that I can be able to select what's going to go well with each of the colors. So I wanted to show you the difference between the cold pressed and the hot pressed watercolor paper. Some people know, some people don't. And here I'm showing you the one on the left is our cold pressed and the one on the right is our hot pressed, and the texture. You can see the texture in that cold press. But for ink blending, it's not really going to make much difference, especially in this case. We're adding a like a wood grain background stamp to it, and it covers up some of that texture even more if you're not into the texture of the paper. So here I'm inking up with some Versamark Dazzle ink. Now I chose the Dazzle because my Versamark ink pad's a little dirty from doing my other stamping. You can see my wood grain stamp is a little dirty. It's stained, but when I did the other cards, the blue ink actually came out onto the paper. And so I used white embossing powder to cover up that blue ink. If you have a clean stamp, go ahead and use clear embossing powder. You're going to get the same type of effect with clear embossing powder. If you have got a dirty stamp, use the white embossing powder. So that's what I'm going to do here today. White embossing powder. Now I'm heating that up until it is smooth and melted. My panel measures 5x7. I will trim that down once I'm done with my ink blending to 4x5.25. So I'm going to start off with some Warm Breeze, and then I'm going to come in with Paradise, and I'm never sure if I need the third color, so I wait till I do my first two colors. And in this case I did use Bluebell as my third color. So the technique is simple, and for anyone who struggles with ink blending, I showed this back in December on the channel, where you can take your blending brush and go top to bottom at the top of this cardstock and just drag the ink color down. You don't have to circle, use a circular motion. You simply go from top to bottom. For today's card or panels, I'm going to go from side to side. It's the same technique, we're just going in a different direction. What you cannot tell is that I'm keeping my brush or my bristles flush with the card stock. So in some cases, I'm not even picking the brush up. I'm kind of doing a scrubbing motion back and forth. So it couldn't be simpler to do this technique and to get some nice ink blending. The key really is, especially for dye or even these pigment inks, I know a lot of people swear by Bristol Smooth. You'll never go back to Bristol Smooth if you try the 100% cotton watercolor paper. I promise you. So again, going back and forth, I've come in with Paradise, and I'm bringing it all the way to the end because, as you can see too, by doing this technique, I don't need to keep dipping my brush into the color, right? I am taking a dry paper towel in between and cleaning off that extra ink that's on top of the embossing powder before I move on to my next color. So now I'm going to come in with Bluebell, starting at the top, because I always want my darkest colors right up at the top. If you want it reverse, just flip your panel around once you're done. But you got to start dark to light in order to get one gradient that you want. And if you want it light starting at the top and dark at the bottom, you just flip your cardstock around once you're done with your ink blending. So now I'm taking a microfiber cloth because I'm completely done with my blending, and I'm really buffing off that excess ink. There's quite a bit that gets left on there. So it's important to take off the excess ink with a microfiber cloth. The paper towel doesn't get all of it off, but it gets a good portion for when you're ink blending in between colors. Now I've trimmed the panel to 4 by 5 1/4, and now I'm taking my Versamark ink pad and just putting it on, mushing it onto the sides, the edge of each side of the card panel. And now I'm going to take some gold Emboss embossing powder and just dip it in and give us a nice gilded edge to our card panel. Now, these are great for any occasion, anybody. You know, what's nice about these is that even though they're kind of a rainbowy color of cards, they're individual. So, you know, if you got someone in your life who likes pink, you've got pink cards. If you got someone in your life who likes green, which is great, actually the green one's really nice for, which I'll show you here at the end. The green one will be nice for St. Patrick's Day even, or for March birthdays, because St. Patrick's Day falls in March. You know, it just gives you a lot of versatility by doing some simple color combinations like I'm doing for these cards to create a nice variety of note cards, and they can be given as gifts because you've kind of maintained the theme with the gilded edge, with the background stamp, and the font of your word dies. So we're done with our embossing. Now we're going to put this card together. It came together really quick. I think all these, because, you know, you get the embossing and everything, the die cutting. It was probably about an hour for the 6 cards, which I don't think is too bad. So now I've got my 120-pound accent opaque in white card base. It's A2 side folding, and I put my 1/4-inch tear tape on the back of my panel, and now I'm coming in with the Happy Birthday die set, you know, die cut from some 130-pound black cardstock. Now, I debated on if I wanted to do 1 layer or 2 because the cardstock is nice and heavyweight. Once I put the first layer down, I realized I wanted at least 1 extra layer. So I did put that second layer on. So we've got 2 layers of Happy and 2 layers of Birthday in that black cardstock, using some on-point glue to adhere our, you know, word sentiments together. And that's it. I'm not going to bling it up. I'm not going to do anything. I mean, it couldn't be simpler. So we got our first card there. Then we've got Cheerful and Summertime, and we've got Twilight and Morning Mist. I did that on a chocolate card base and die cut the word thank you out of a chocolate cardstock. And here we've got Monarch and Glamorous. And then we've got Charming Pink, Purple Delight, and Fantasia, and here are our cards. Oh, and for the green, I did Verdant and Green Oasis. So lots of options with your Versafine Clair inks. Any of your dye inks will work the same way. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next video.